My sister's husband, Jake, completely lost his temper when I told him that I was in a romantic relationship with someone else. I want to express my feelings about this situation, so I'm sharing my thoughts here. I hope to receive some insights or advice from those who read this. To provide some context, my name is Ashley. I am 17 years old, and my sister, whom I will refer to as Jess, is 25. Jess has been married to Jake for 2 years. Their relationship began when she was just starting college, and they have been together ever since. From what I have seen, they have always presented a picture-perfect relationship. They seemed to have everything figured out, and whenever they visited, it was like watching a model couple that my parents never were. My parents made many poor choices throughout their lives, which meant that Jess essentially raised me. I have immense gratitude for all the sacrifices she made to help me grow up. While in college, I made it a point to call Jess several times a week. During these calls, she would share updates about her studies and future plans, but she often spoke with great enthusiasm about Jake. The way she described him raised my own expectations for what love should be like. She talked about the beautiful flowers he would bring her, the amazing dates they would go on, and how he always treated her with such kindness and respect. Having grown up with parents whose relationship was rocky, one that should have ended in divorce long ago, I didn't have a clear picture of what a healthy relationship looked like. This is why I formed a close bond with Jess and Jake. It felt natural to accept Jake into my life as if he were an older brother. Over time, Jess and Jake took significant steps in their relationship, moving in together, getting engaged, and eventually getting married. Things took a turn when my parents decided to kick me out of the house. They insisted that I start paying rent, which I simply couldn't afford. I work at a luxury horse ranch where the perks include using their horses for practice and receiving free lessons with an instructor. I truly love my job and did not want to leave it behind. Unfortunately, my pay was not high enough to cover the rent my parents expected, which meant I was looking at the option of getting a second job or quitting. This led me to live with Jess and Jake. Jake works from home, and unless he is taking Jess out or at the gym, he is usually home. He has a good job that provides enough income for both him and Jess, though I don't know exactly what he does. Jess mentioned that it is related to a family business, which probably explains the financial stability. Recently, Jess and Jake announced that they were expecting a baby. I was overjoyed for them, but given Jess's history of miscarriages, we all know that this is a delicate situation. The doctors have indicated that this pregnancy is considered high risk, which adds to the worry surrounding it. To give you a clearer picture of my life, my parents had an old car that I used to drive to school and work. But once they kicked me out, I lost access to it, which was disappointing. Having a car provided a sense of freedom that I really enjoyed. Despite the inconvenience, Jake insisted on helping me out by driving me to school every morning. After he returned home from his gym routine, he would shower, grab me a Starbucks, and then drop me off at school. He also picked me up in the afternoon and drove me to work. This generosity made my daily life so much easier, and I truly appreciated how he took time out of his busy schedule to help me. During our drives, we often chatted. We discussed everything from Jess to their plans for the baby. Jake would always ask if I was dating anyone or had a crush on someone. He would tease me by saying things like, "You're so beautiful, it's hard to believe there's no one special in your life." He would wink and encourage me to share my secrets with him, insisting he could keep a confidentiality. At that time, I had a crush on someone. There was a guy I met, and I will say he was interesting. However, I felt it was too early to discuss things in detail, so I ended up being vague during our conversations. I didn't want to mislead him, but I also didn't want to jinx anything by being too specific. This led me to play coy, avoiding certain questions and keeping my answers unclear. Eventually, Alex, who is a 19-year-old guy and happens to be the owner's son at the ranch where I work, asked me out on a date. Since we spent a good amount of time together while I was working, like when he would come to help me during my shifts or when we went riding, I was excited about it. After my shift one day, I excitedly told my brother, Jake, about this date. However, his reaction was unexpected. Jake's mood shifted instantly. It was as if all warmth had disappeared from our conversation. He started asking a lot of questions in a very direct manner. I felt it was just the protective brother thing kicking in and assumed he would come to terms with my news over time. However, when I revealed that Alex and I had been talking for about a month, Jake's demeanor changed completely. He became angry, accusing me of lying and hiding things from him. This hurt me deeply, and I couldn't help but cry during our discussion. He kept repeating the phrase, "What about us?" which left me feeling extremely confused. I wondered what he meant by that statement. The way Jake reacted made me rethink various interactions I've had since moving in with them. For example, there is a pool in the backyard of Jake's house, and I often go out to swim or simply lie out in the sun to tan. I started to notice that whenever I was in the pool or sunbathing, Jake would find a reason to be outside as well, such as starting the grill or mowing the lawn. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching me. A few times, he even joined me in the pool, which I initially thought was just him wanting to exercise like I was. After swimming, I would take a shower in the hallway bathroom. Jake and Jess have their own bathroom connected to their master bedroom. Once I finished my shower, I would go to my room to change and often go to bed. However, sometimes as I walked the short distance from the hallway to my room, wearing just a towel, I would find Jake waiting for me. He would say good night, and I would respond, but now I can't help but wonder if there was a different reason behind his actions. I hesitate to bring these concerns up to my sister, Jess, because she has been fragile lately due to her pregnancy. It has really taken a toll on her, and I worry that discussing this could hurt her or negatively impact the baby. I just need clarity on whether I am overthinking the situation. At first, I didn't consider the possibility that my sister might take Jake's side over mine. However, after reading various comments online, I feel the need to start observing and collecting evidence, just in case. I also plan to adjust the dynamic between Jake and me without raising any alarms. I'm prepared to tell Jess if I sense any immediate danger, but I don't believe Jake poses that kind of threat. I want to wait until she is feeling better to share my feelings about Jake, as I don't want to add stress to her already complicated situation. I genuinely want to see Jake in a positive light, but his angry outburst was frightening. It made me feel uneasy. I do understand that he is likely under a lot of stress, especially since Jess's pregnancy is high risk and he has had to take extra care of her recently. Still, despite giving him the benefit of the doubt, I realize I need to set some boundaries. His explosive reaction unsettled me, and I no longer feel entirely safe around him. I know I'd never be able to just show up at his place, so I'm going to reach out to a few friends to see if they'd be willing to carpool with me. I'll also text Alex and see if he can give me a ride home from work. If that doesn't work out, I guess I'll just have to find a job close enough that I can walk to it. In the meantime, I plan to focus on the brotherly vibe I feel with him. I'm going to do my best to stay friendly because I really don't see any point in being rude or creating a tense atmosphere. Other than that, I'll be taking some steps to try to change my current situation. Now, about my sister's husband, he's been acting strange, and I'm not sure if I'm overthinking it. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who commented on my last post, offering their advice and support. After reading through all the comments last night, it hit me that I'm no longer in a safe space and that I need to make some changes starting now. Even though I respect and care about Jake, I realize that the risk simply isn't worth it. I did attempt to start a conversation with him after posting my concerns, hoping we could discuss things, but he was still in a bad mood. So, I decided to retreat to my room. Late at night, I felt this overwhelming urge to get out of the house. I was starting to feel trapped. I thought I could clear my mind by taking a walk to my usual smoke spot. I barely spent 15 minutes there when I received a text from Jake asking where I was. Soon after, my phone started buzzing non-stop with his calls. I can't even describe how scared I felt at that moment. All I wanted was to be left alone. Eventually, I reluctantly picked up the phone, which led to a barrage of insults directed at me. He called me an effing princess who always gets my way and said I deserved to be treated like trash. Then he demanded that I send him my location, which was absolutely not going to happen. I told him to take a moment to think about what he had just said to me. After that, I called Alex, and thankfully, he answered. I explained what was happening, even though I was shaking and crying so hard that I'm not sure how much he truly understood. He came over to where I was, asking me more questions about the situation while trying to help me calm down. Eventually, I managed to relax a bit and told him everything again more clearly. Meanwhile, my phone was still ringing like crazy, and since I assumed it was Jake, I let it ring. But then I noticed my sister's name on the screen and decided to answer, even though I was worried it would be Jake. It turned out to be Jake, and he unleashed another round of insults, loud enough for Alex to hear. Alex took the phone from me and told Jake to shut up, insisting that I was safe. After hanging up, he assured me that everything would be okay and that I shouldn't worry. He drove me all the way to the ranch and explained everything to his parents. I'm really thankful they decided to let me stay in one of their extra rooms in exchange for helping out around the farm. After that, I snuggled up with Alex and tried to fall asleep. I ended up skipping school today because I just needed a break. But after Jake's outburst and the comments that got into my head, I started to worry about my sister. I called her, and thankfully, she picked up. It was clear she had been crying. She asked if I was safe and okay. Jess shared that the night before, she woke up to Jake yelling, which scared her, so she pretended to stay asleep. She could hear him come back into their room and take her phone off the charger, followed by more yelling and then the sound of the front door. The loud slam of the front door echoed through the house, signaling that Jake had left in search of me. He took my sister's phone with him, which left her feeling helpless. She was scared, genuinely worried that he might hurt me. After about an hour, Jake returned home, but it was clear he was in a terrible mood. When my sister asked him where he had been and what had happened, he erupted in anger at her for even questioning him. She said it was the angriest she'd ever seen him. He was destroying furniture in a fit of rage. After a few minutes of chaos, he got back in the car and drove away, but thankfully, he left my sister's phone on the counter. Curiosity got the best of her, and she looked at the call logs. There were so many calls to me while he was gone that it made her heart sink. Worried and feeling trapped, she decided to call a friend to pick her up. She wanted to reach out to me, but at that moment, I was asleep. She expressed her fears that Jake had found me, and there was a sense of guilt in her voice. She apologized for not being able to protect me and for failing to notice what was happening. Jess asked me why I hadn't told her about his behavior, and I explained that I didn't want to add to her stress with her pregnancy. We both ended up crying together, reflecting on everything that had happened. Apparently, our parents are letting her move back in without any rent fees because they want to help take care of their grandchild. If this had been an option earlier, so much heartache could have been avoided. But anyway, my sister and I decided to go out for dinner, and I shared my post with her. We cried some more. She mentioned she had never felt scared of Jake until she saw him that angry the night before. It shook her to the core. We still need to go back and get our belongings, and we plan to reach out soon to set a date to do that. Our dad and Alex will be there to support us and to make sure Jake doesn't try anything funny. My sister told me that Jake had been trying to reach out to her multiple times, claiming he was worried about my safety and that I shouldn't be out at night. She knew he was lying because she had overheard everything he yelled at me. Jess finally told him she would be filing for divorce and then hung up on him. I love my sister, and I genuinely hope for the best for her. I believe she will heal from all of this and eventually find a wonderful man who loves her for who she is. In other news, Alex and I are planning a date next week, which has me feeling really excited. I also want to say a big thank you to all the Reddit commenters out there. Your words stressed me out so much that it pushed me to take a much-needed smoke break. I think you guys might have saved me from a bad situation. I shudder to think what could have happened if I had been in my room that night, but I'm grateful that I didn't have to find out.